Hey grammar friends, welcome to today's screencast on the apostrophe. So what is an apostrophe? Well, it's a punctuation mark. It's that little floating comma that signals certain things to any reader. Specifically, it signals that a word is a contraction or that a word, specifically a noun or a pronoun, is a possessive, meaning that that word has ownership over another word, or it signals that a word is in dialect. Now, we're not going to deal with the dialect piece in this screencast because we're going to focus on contractions and possessives. All right, the first purpose of an apostrophe is to make contractions. Contractions are two words that you can put together in order to make one word. In order to make a contraction, you take two words and you put them together into one word and you drop some letters. Typically, one of the letters you drop is a vowel, and in the place of the vowel, you will put your apostrophe. Now, there are some words that could mean a couple of different things when you see a word with an apostrophe. So if you look down at the example of girls, in this case, because we're talking about contractions, we're talking about the word girl is. So if you said something like, the girl's going to win that race, you mean the girl is going to win that race. The same is true of it apostrophe s. That word is a contraction for the two words it is. And you would use it like this: it's super hot out today. Now, if you were to see those words in a different context, girls and its, they might not mean contractions. In different contexts, they mean different things, and we'll get into that a little bit later. The second way in which you would use an apostrophe is to make nouns possessive. Quick recap: nouns are people, places, things, ideas, or emotions. And nouns show number. Specifically, they are singular or plural. And there are a couple of different rules depending on whether the noun you are trying to make possessive is singular or plural. So we're going to take a look at each one. Now, before we leave, I just want to say again that to make a noun possessive means that the word that is possessive in your sentence is taking ownership of another word in the sentence. So, for example, we have a kitten here, and the kitten has ears. So if you were to say the kitten's ears, the word kittens is a possessive noun, meaning that the kitten owns its ears. Okay, so let's talk about the rules you will use. In order to make a singular noun possessive, there is literally only one rule. That rule is that you add apostrophe s to the end of the word every single time. That is the only rule you need if you are making a singular noun possessive. So, for example, if you have one child who owns its toy, you go child and then apostrophe s. One boy who owns his bike, boy apostrophe s. Francisco's hat, Francisco apostrophe s. Now, you might want to ask a question like, well, what about proper nouns that already end in s, like Jesus? I want you to write this specifically in your notes. In order to make Jesus or any other name plural, if that original word is singular, all you have to do is add apostrophe s. So yes, for Jesus, you would go Jesus apostrophe s. Jesus's shoes stuck in the mud. Now, what about singular nouns that end in s already, like bus? Same exact rule, my friends. Again, there is only one way to make singular nouns possessive, and that is to add apostrophe s. So for bus, if you were talking about that one bus that owned its tires, you would go bus apostrophe s tires. The bus's tires popped. Now, if you have a plural noun and you want that to be possessive, then you have two rules. The first plural noun rule is if the plural noun ends in an s, and by the way, most plural nouns do, then you add an apostrophe to the end of the word and call it a day. So if you have a bunch of boys and they're all wearing hats, you would go boys, you start with your plural word, and you see that it has an s at the end of it, so all you have to do is add an apostrophe at the end of all that, and it signals to your reader that you're talking about a bunch of boys who all own hats. Same thing with girls. You start with girls, it's plural, you add an apostrophe to the end of it, and that signals to your reader that you're talking about a bunch of girls who own their pants. Now, the second rule to make plural nouns possessive is if the plural noun does not already end in an S, then you add apostrophe S to the end of the word. So something like children. Children is already plural without an S. So in order to make children a possessive noun, you would add an apostrophe S to the end of it and then the thing they're possessing. So the children all own their books. Those are the children's books. Same thing with women. Women is already plural without an S. So you have to get that S sound at the end of it. So you would go women and then go apostrophe S, and now they own their flowers, the women's flowers. So to recap for plural nouns, if the plural noun already ends in an S, you just add apostrophe to the very end of that. If the plural word doesn't end in an S, then you throw an apostrophe S in and you're good to go. Okay, if we're talking about how to make nouns possessive, then we also have to talk about how to make pronouns possessive. Because remember, y'all, pronouns are just words that replace nouns. So since they do the same job in a sentence, they can also show possession. Now, you may remember we have 5 classes of pronouns that we're talking about in this class, and each type of pronoun has its own rule around making it possessive. So a quick reminder, our 5 classes of pronouns are personal, indefinite, demonstrative, interrogative, and relative. We're going to look at each one separately. Okay, in order to make a personal pronoun possessive, do nothing, because the word already shows possession. Let's take a quick look at the personal pronoun chart to remind ourselves that the chart already contains a column, indicated here in red, that is already possessive. So in first person, we have my, mine, and our, ours. In second person, your, yours, and your, yours. And in third person, his, her, hers, its, their, and theirs. Those words are already possessive. So there would be no need for you ever to write, for example, Y-O-U-R apostrophe S. It just wouldn't work because yours is already a possessive word. So if we go back to our previous screen, I've just shown you that again here. So the singular possessive personal pronouns are my, mine, your, yours, his, her, hers, its, their, and theirs. And the plural possessive personal pronouns are our, ours, your, yours, their, theirs. Remember, these words already show possession, so you have no need for an apostrophe anywhere in that area. Notice specifically ITS. If you write ITS, it already means possession. So if you say the dog grabbed its bone, you would use ITS, not IT apostrophe S, which you might remember from a few slides back means it is. So you would never want to say the dog grabbed it is bone. You would want to say the dog grabbed its bone. So in that case, that possessive does not take a contraction. That possessive does not use an apostrophe. It's already possessive in its ITS form. Okay, the second class of pronouns are indefinite pronouns. And in order to make them possessive, all you have to do is add apostrophe S to make that indefinite pronoun possessive. For example, if I have anybody and I want to know if it's anybody's helmet, I just add an apostrophe S. One's perspective, same thing, apostrophe S. The third class of pronouns are demonstrative pronouns, and there's no such thing as a demonstrative possessive pronoun. Those words are this, that, these, and those, by the way. So you don't have to do anything because those words never show possession. And then our last 2 classes of pronouns, interrogative and relative pronouns, remember, those words are practically the same as each other anyway, and the only difference typically between the two is whether they're being used in a question or in a statement. And for both interrogative and relative pronouns, the word whose is already possessive. So you don't need an apostrophe because that word is already a possessive word. Just like in the personal pronoun chart, how they have an entire possessive column, this is basically the possessive column of the interrogative and relative pronoun chart. Okay, a quick never. Never, never, never use the apostrophe in order to make a word plural. It is the most incorrect usage of the apostrophe. It's a glaring mistake. It's going to make my eyes bleed. Unfortunately for you as a writer, it shows immaturity and a lack of sophistication. So you just want to stay away from that mistake. Okay, let's play a game. I want to know what you think these structures mean. A quick public service announcement. All 5 of these came from actual printed documents, so these examples exist out in the world. Okay, pants altered. What do you think that means? Well, in the case of how it's written, it means one pant is altered, or it means one pant owns its altered. What do you suppose whoever erroneously wrote this sign meant? My guess is that they meant, hey, if you come here, pants are altered. So they broke that cardinal never ever rule. They took pants, which was supposed to be plural, and they made it possessive. There's really no reason there should be an apostrophe there. All right, the next one says next week, nouns and apostrophes. This was on BBC's website advertising, if you can believe it, a grammar site for kids, y'all. Okay, let's take a look. Nouns and apostrophes. What do you think they meant? Well, obviously, they meant plural nouns and plural apostrophes. And you can see that they fell into the same mistake pit that the pants people fell into, because this is supposed to be apostrophes, a plural word. apostrophes. It's a plural word, so you never want to put an apostrophe in a plural word. All right, the next one, pupil's entrance. Well, from a first glance, what it literally means is one pupil owns that entrance. Now, my guess is that this sign occurs at a school, and that wouldn't be one pupil's entrance, would it? Because that wouldn't make any sense. This is probably the entrance for all the pupils. So what should this writer have done? They should have written the plural word pupils and then put an apostrophe after it. Okay, it's Adult Learners Week. Well, is it a week for one adult learner? Because that's how they've written it. Or is it a week for a bunch of adult learners to do something? In that case, you can do it one of 2 ways and not the way they chose. You can either say adult learners and then an apostrophe after the S to mean all adult learners get to own this week. Or if it's just the title of the week, then it would just be Adult Learners Week, no apostrophe. Depends on what the writer meant. But my guess is the writer did not mean one adult learner gets to have a week. And then the last one, Bob's Motors. Well, the problem with this is that you're talking about a whole bunch of Bobs who own their motors. My guess is they meant one Bob, so that apostrophe should go before the S, because remember, singular nouns all form possession by going apostrophe S at the end of the word. So if the word is Bob, then you have to go Bob apostrophe S. All right, you can see on your note sheet, I want you guys to practice a couple of things. I want you to practice making the following words, cherry, box, couch, Julie, and ox, singular, then plural, then singular possessive, then plural possessive. So pause here and write those things down in your notes, and we'll go over them in class. Okay, in your last practice, I want you to write a sentence for each of the following. I want you to write a sentence where there's a fox that owns his box, a tree that owns several branches, a bunch of boats that all own passengers, and then a bunch of tribes who own their members. All right, that's it. We'll see you all in class. Thanks.